Okay, here we go. Um, we're getting started uh with the next chapter. I'm in chapter number 16, and I've done a lot of the other chapters already, but the middle of the book, oddly enough, is not done at all yet. So that's where we are, and thanks for joining along on this little venture of recording the book. And let's see, I don't know how to get to maybe not that. Okay, we have that manage. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's see. I have no idea how to see messages on this thing, if not that anybody's watching, but you never know. Maybe it'll appear somehow on here. Maybe if I pop out the dashboard here. Okay. No, that didn't do it. I have no clue how to set it up so that I can see the any kind of feedbacks or anything like that, or if anybody responds. Well, that's a stinker. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and record it, and yeah, enjoy. Note number 16. Open the window. My college choir director used to shout, "Open the window!" If you listen carefully enough, you can hear the other choir yelling out another anthem. It was a metaphor to listen for the ridiculous, for the unimaginable and ludicrous. It meant to do something unexpected to get better results. For me, it meant traveling to a different place, closing myself off, and writing. Typically, I travel alone, since someone has to stay behind to watch the dogs. My husband takes his own trips too, and occasionally we vacation together. Recently, my favorite vacations involved somewhere to write, somewhere to drive, somewhere to walk, and somewhere to reflect. I never pictured myself as a writer, but I do enjoy teaching and I love communicating with people. So when I committed to weekly letters for the choir 5 years ago, I was surprised at how much I genuinely enjoyed writing each week. Sometimes I received comments back. Sometimes I just marveled at the words. A few years ago, I felt a need, like a flower in a field of concrete, to write some of the lessons I'd learned. I wanted to help others, and after 15 years since pounding out a dissertation, I felt like it was time to contribute, first to the choral music community, then, more importantly, to the friends, congregation members, and colleagues whom I spent time with and worked with. I wanted to open the window. As a graduate student, I befriended a professor who was a prolific writer. At regular intervals, he left town, taking writing retreats. When I was 25 years old, that sounded intensely boring. I wanted to be in the middle of big cities, ensembles, concerts, and activity. I didn't want to just sit and write. As I seasoned, the idea of occasionally divesting my responsibilities and writing appealed to me, but I still wasn't ready. Then one day something happened. I had given a workshop on conducting, and Mary, one of my handbell choir members, exclaimed, "You should write this stuff down." Weeks later, I mulled this comment and realized that if I didn't start now, I never would. I wrote during my spare time, but kept getting interrupted by life. I would get parts written only to abandon them for weeks or months at a time. Finally, I decided to try what my professor did. I brought my books, my food, my coffee, and my old laptop and found a place to go. I rented a house, staying for a cold week in January, and renewed my writing in earnest. I wrote several hours a day, as much as I could in the morning, followed by a walk around noon, and more writing in the evenings. After a week, the book started to take shape. A few months later, I did it again. I spent more time writing during the day and visiting a friend in the evenings. I continued hammering away at the book I had dreamed about only 2 years earlier. I felt guilty leaving my husband behind. Each time I would ask, "Are you sure it's okay?" I discovered he wanted the whole house to himself, too. I gave myself permission to open the window. Before, I considered myself a one-trick pony, and that trick was directing choirs. Looking at my personality versus a writer's persona, I saw a huge chasm. Writers are alone. They are intellectual. They associate with people who use large words. They see the world differently. They pontificate. They enunciate. I'm none of those things. I'm direct, bold, down to earth, snarky, crass, and only somewhat intellectual. I know lots of people. I tell dumb jokes in rehearsal. In short, I'm not the type of person who writes. I only write because I want to make sure others learn from my mistakes. As I continue writing weekly notes to the choir, I realize how much I really enjoy it. The more I write, the more I realized I enjoy it. As a result, I write more. Why should we open the window? 1. We are facing a fear. Doing new things breaks us free of some of that fear because it leads to success, even if it means performing the same task in a new location. 2. We learn more about ourselves. A few summers ago, I took a storytelling course. The instructor prompted us to tell where we felt most authentic and then choose a partner to describe it. I recounted to another participant about rebuilding a wooden fence. I spoke of the wood, the heaviness, the screws, and the sense of accomplishment. As I traded story partners, my story modified, and by the third iteration, something new struck. I realized building the fence was something that my dad, now long deceased, and I would have done together. We stimulate creativity, number 3. Doing something unusual like riding my bicycle through the unique and wooded paths along the creek as part of my ride home certainly wasn't the most direct route between the church and my house, but it did push me out of my regular routine. It allowed me to see and experience the greenery all around me on a hot summer day, the sand beneath the wheels, the way my mind wandered because I was totally alone with my thoughts. When it came to writing, I opened the window with a crack and eventually flung it wide open. Who goes on trips by themselves to remote places to write? Who spends hours sitting hunched over a computer deciding if this paragraph makes sense? Who coaxes their friends to read their hefty manuscripts? Who asks loved ones to listen to drafts and see if the overall impact works? Someone who opens the window does. What ideas have been put on your back burner? Designing a video game? Painting? Studying a language? Playing an instrument? Jumping out of an airplane? Travel? Flying a powered paraglider? Playing wheelchair basketball? Coaching Little League? Becoming a volunteer counselor? Just open the window.